Doing a bit of a list this week, boys, to start the season off, because as we are recording this, the Geelong and Brisbane game, there's a bit of doubt if it's going to get postponed or if it's going ahead or not. Update at 11 a.m. Brisbane time. Andrew Dillon, the AFL CEO, says he's monitoring the situation. So that could mean, I reckon we'll be playing Thursday night somehow. Somehow I reckon there's a game Thursday night. Yep. But I thought I'd just do up a list of bizarre AFL match interruptions. And I've come up with, it's very biblical, some of the stuff that has interrupted football. So first, of course, we've got some thunderstorm delays. There was the Sydney Derby, the one that the Giants first won, but his first ever game for the Swans.
Yes, out at NG Stadium.
Yep. And
I was there that day.
And there was the thunderstorm delay at Optus Stadium in about 2021. The game was delayed for about 50 minutes. And Melbourne basically went to the rooms, were very comfortable, and then they had to get back on the ground, and Melbourne only won by 9 points that day. So, yeah, there's been a few thunderstorm interruptions now. Yeah. That's very common. 2, sprinklers. That happened at Waverley in a night series match. That was between Hawthorn and Claremont. Oh, all teams.
A while ago.
A very long time ago. Streakers.
Yeah.
1982 grand final. We had the game delayed because of that.
I was commentating in Darwin. There was one up there too.
Yeah.
And got away. Hurdled the fence. Got through the crowd. Out.
Oh, I've seen that vision. Was he wearing was it a streaker and a mankini from memory or something like that?
Sure. Yeah, might have been. But yeah, got over the fence and was off.
4, animals. Pig. We've had so there was the pig on the ground.
Snake.
Yes,
yeah,
and
snake.
You were at the game in Blacktown. You've been at a few of these, Lynchy.
Yeah, there might be something in that.
Was there a snake delaying a pre-season match?
Yeah, he was in the forward pocket.
That's right.
Yeah, it was a red-bellied black snake. He was in the forward pocket, but then at post-game, 2 of his cousins were in the Swans room. The fair dinkum was in the medical room. They've gone in post-game. A few of the boys gone in the medical room. 2 red bellies under the bloody table.
No, thank you.
No,
good.
And it also happened at the same ground a couple of months earlier in an AFLW match.
The
game got delayed by
So that was on the far wing,
Yeah, so I noticed there was no games at Blacktown this year in the pre-season. The Snakes are probably...
They're good snakes because they get rid of the other ones, but they go you as well. So.
Oh, yeah, they can get pissed off. But the concern was, and probably was reinforces how many snakes were out at Blacktown. The snake catcher, when old mates come in the forward pocket...
Did he look like a snake catcher or what?
But he got there. He was there in 2 minutes. So he's actually on staff.
He's
so there's a snake catcher there.
So they have a groundskeeper and a snake keeper at the venue.
So he was on staff.
Imagine you've just arrived in Australia and you've seen Australian rules and... your first impression of Australia as the sport gets interrupted because someone's a snake on the ground.
Oh, yeah. Driving home last night, there was a python took up half the road going across our street.
One my street last week as well.
The whoppers are still around.
Okay, number 5, lights out.
Yep.
So I happened to be at both these matches. That was, of course, Waverley in 96, where the game went out and that St Kilda Essendon won, and they had to come back on the Tuesday night to finish it.
And was that the Malcolm Blight?
Yeah, that's where Channel 7 crossed to Malcolm Blight in the commentary box talking from his cigarette lighter. And then the crowd stormed the pitch and started a bonfire in the middle of Waverley.
Oh, yeah, I wasn't aware of that.
So, do YouTube the vision of the Waverley blackout. And then they had to come back on Tuesday night and play 2 20-minute halves.
Right.
Teams were able to make changes, and Essendon was able to bring in James Hurd, who was injured, to finish off the match. So that went down
remarkable.
Really well.
You
and
had far too much time on the weekend.
And, of course, there was the Gabba a couple of years ago with James Brayshaw's famous commentary, "Oh, no!"
The renewables got them.
That's right. And then Tom Rockcliffe's Rockcliffe's a little bit of that lobbying for the coal industry.
Started back up.
Yeah, that's it. So what play was delayed by about 35 minutes, and then Brisbane were really comfortably in front. Then Melbourne came back and nearly snatched it from them. So
Brisbane actually didn't want to play the rest of the game.
No, they wanted to call the game off. Number 6, scoreboard on fire.
Yep.
The Richmond-Carlton game. I was there that night.
Was that the G?
It was at the MCG, just as the team ran out and absolutely exploded. So, yeah, that was a bit awkward. Team, anyway. You played in this match, number 7, Death Valley. So you actually played in this match.
As it was called then, Colonial
Stadium, North Melbourne versus Brisbane.
Yes, the turf.
The turf on the city wing resembled a beach volleyball sandpit.
Yeah.
Chris Johnson...
Chris Johnson was spinning the wheels.
Yes. And then what happened was St Kilda was due to play Hawthorn the next day at Colonial, as it were. The match had to be moved to the MCG because it was unsafe and because at the time Channel 7 owned the venue.
Yeah.
A young reporter by the name of Craig Hutchison...
Got in strife.
Yes, used the term Death Valley and was suspended by the network for 2 weeks for daring to bag out Colonial Stadium. This is an interesting one. Number 8, the team's plane doesn't even land.
Oh, yes, Essendon.
This is
Wangaratta.
Essendon in 2012 attempted to fly from Essendon Airport to Wangaratta because heaven forbid you could get the 2-hour bus.
Yeah.
So the wild weather prevented the Bombers from landing and they had to turn back to Melbourne, and St Kilda had just put on like an intra-club match for all these people in Wangaratta that were really excited to see.
I played in one of those games as well.
Did you?
Tassie were playing the VFA in 1987.
Yeah.
And we flew over the morning of the game, couldn't land because of fog, so flew to Canberra, had lunch in Canberra, and flew back after lunch and got to Junction Oval to play the VFA half hour late.
Yeah.
And not surprisingly, we got jumped early.
That's a surprise.
Struggled to fight
So
back.
don't fly on the day.
No, don't fly on the day.
Is the now exotic weather interruptions? Here are some notable ones. Now you played in this one, the 1923 Grand Final, Essendon Fitzroy.
Right.
You remember that, don't you?
Yeah,
it was postponed a week due to a waterlogged MCG.
Yeah, but Chicken Smallhorn still handled the ball beautifully that day.
I mean, the Bombers went on to win that, but
but he was good.
The first ever match for premiership points in Queensland was actually delayed. So it was bucketing down, and that was just played around the corner at the RNA Showgrounds. So that was played that got moved from a Saturday afternoon to a Tuesday. Entire rounds.
When was that?
That was 1952. You were playing back then, weren't you?
Yeah, it was the next year.
Oh, yeah, the next year, yeah. We've had a round of matches was literally postponed due to flooding in Melbourne in the 60s, and there's been a few in pre-season, including one that you were involved in, Tom.
Oh, thank God for that.
Tom was actually at an interrupted game. It was a game in Mackay between Brisbane and St Kilda. What happened there?
I think it was a cyclone as well. You might have been out there. It was about 500 mils.
Yeah, and they called her off, didn't
they? There was grass, but floating across the ground, so we couldn't play.
And last but not least, COVID. Remember that?
Yeah.
What a time to be alive.
Well, how many tests?
It wasn't called off.
Well, the season was delayed, and then the season was cancelled and then rescheduled, and
Lynchy filled the pockets.
And Lynchy
filled the pockets. No.
Became Channel Lynchy.
That's where I needed a manager. I was not on a per game contract.
You got so much time.
I was on a flat contract and did 3 times the games I was contracted to.
When you were doing that, did you literally go to broadcasts having no idea who was playing? Because that fixture was all over the shop. I mean, it had to be.
Well, there was players that weren't even on lists that were playing. I think it was it West Coast, all the top-ups and stuff. There was people that never played before.
I can't remember who it was. There was a... So what was happening, because there was no crowds and trying to do interviews still. And to answer your question, yeah, absolutely. Especially I remember a few times driving down the coast and ringing our producer saying, who's playing? And then ringing assistant coaches to say, can you tell me some of the players? Because new players coming in. But there was a day, I can't remember the young guy's name, but what was happening from the huddle, say quarter-time huddle, West Coast huddle, and what the media manager was doing was going to grab probably the most experienced player out of the huddle to walk over to me to do the interview. So whoever was sort of capable enough to do it without sort of worrying them too much. And so I didn't know who they're going to grab. And so obviously Simo would put the names up on the board. You've got the 4 blokes on the bench. Media manager will go grab one of them. And I've seen him go grab this kid. And he's walking over towards me. I've got no idea who he is. And the problem was, because he was facing me as well, I couldn't see his number. So I'm talking to my producer, who's this? Who's this bloke? The 2 most generic questions of all time. Oh, no idea who it was.